Hey, whoa. Welcome to another edition of Top 10 Worst Devs, the best in worst of lists anywhere in Tarnation. I'm your host for this evening's Odyssey, Nick Tureen, and what a pleasure it is to be able to be here, I must say, and bring you this lovely and wonderful, petite little Top 10 Worst Dev list. It's top 10 worst reasons you'll never get your Epstein files, you stupid jerk. What do you think they're really going to let Epstein? Well, let me get too carried away here. Let me set the table for you, if you will, because this is a very complex, interactive arrangement that we've got going here at Top 10 Worst of Lists, which we are looking forward soon. Don't tell anybody, but we're looking to bust it up to top 11 worst of lists in the very near future. Shh. God damn it. You're done in the story. Yeah, okay. I'm centered again. All right, so we've got a lot of things to do. Why am I bothering with all this time-wasting garbage? I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, cheap / free, low-end, online sound effects thing. Yes, in the house. I can't afford a DJ or nothing or co-host, and so I've had to settle with a cheap, free sidekick. Story of my life. I'd like to let you know that I am an entire order of fries short of a Happy Meal. So, if you're picking up on some vibes, like I'm going off into, unknown territories, not typically associated with most of your run-of-the-mill top 10 worst of lists, don't be scared to, take 3 freaking minutes out of your stupid, useless, worthless lives and look it up for yourself. Oh, have I said something to offend? Good. I'm not up there. I'm not up for chowing down on your banana boat just to get you to try to do something you should have been doing all your lives. So if you're expecting someone to mollycoddle you, then say, and say what you want to hear and go where you want to go and do what you want to do, I'm not down. Okay, you might as well just click off and find something that'll munch your man sword with detached but tactile servitude. Because I'm down with another thing here, which is going to shock and appall you and piss you off and make you want to go. You're going to be like, oh, click button off, click, and you're going to be like, oh, but wait, there might be a good commercial interruption. I don't want to miss the commercial interruption. So you got this thing going here of this partisanship that makes everybody hate each other so much that they would prefer to have a giant dinosaur killing, exterminating life event level meteor smash into planet Earth and kill us all off than have another 25 years like we've been saddled with since the millennium. I wonder if there was something coinky-dink about it. Ooh, I won't know. Metaphysics, it's too heavy for this show. Never get into anything heavier than me. Physically, emotionally, mentally, sexually, intellectually. All right, so I think I'm not going to play this game of lefty, righty, whatever. I'm a person. I'm a human freaking being, goddammit. If you don't want to get to know me, then you're not worthy of being in my party, which is the human race. No, that didn't work, huh? Oh, God, the schmutz factor is so high on today's and the early sledding of today's top 10 worst of list. All right, so just book. If you're not down, if you want to learn different new ways to hate each other and divide the human race into like tiny little segments and pockets that'll never be able to communicate with each other or solve our problems or learn how to love all over again, go be my guest or be my not guest. So you'd be my guest if you stayed. If you would be not guest, you would be not be being my guest. I just don't have time for this. This is such a crucial time in the evolution of top 10 worst of lists and the universality of the message to all of us to be thine own self, be true, and to give unto others as they would do unto you, etc., etc. So many axioms to get through, and you're just a plebeian. You're still a plebeian level. After all this time, all these thousands of years, you've managed to figure out a way to just immerse yourself in the plebeianness of the whole situation. You plebeian. All right, so anyway, top 10 worst of... Oh, yeah, we got to do a couple of commercials at least, sorry. I'm obligated to try and bring some level of continuity to the content of these things, even as bad as it is. With all the Iranian nuke activity, unfortunately, they've exposed one of their scientists to gamma rays, and now when he gets upset, becomes Hulkatola. And he's supposed to have a Hulk with a picture of a Hulk with a turban and a beard. That looks like a green Ayatollah. I didn't do the picture. From the producers of The Expendables now comes The Dependables. Old action stars in adult protective undergarments. The Dependables. Do you know you want some? God damn it. And coming soon, it's the vegan mustache. Now, I had a lot of questions over my life, throughout the course of my life, like what vegans can and cannot do. Can vegans swallow their own saliva? I find that hard to believe, because saliva is man-made. It's man juice of a type. And if you're able to drink your own saliva, that means that you're on almost like... I mean, I find myself sometimes swallowing several times in one night. Uh-oh. And that's another issue. Can a vegan swallow at the end of a blowjob? Or during a female search for the man in the boat? Because, hello, if you can't have honey, which is just a secretion from a bee, then how can you have man honey? Or man milk, or man butter, whatever your preferred nom de plume would be. But I want to know, if you're a vegan, and you have a baby, and you insist on making that baby be vegan from in their emergence from the womb, can you breastfeed them? The answer, if you're a vegan, is no. But I'll bet you a lot of you guys are like cheating. Right? Are you swallowing? What about the snots running down your nose? Wearing shabby fingers. Can you be Aqualung if you're a vegan? Fucking Aqualung, man. That guy's got snot running down his nose. Something's getting in his mouth. Aqualung. Aqualung, my friend, you cannot be a vegan because you're swallowing man snot out your nose. Oh no. Oh, ding, ding, ding. Ding, 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 ding. Wouldn't that be great if I just launched a note for note cover version of Aqualung, and that was like the remainder of this episode? I can't play though. I've become severely injured yet again. 2 years straight, nonstop injuries. Something's definitely, I don't know. So, with all the commercial, it was the vegan mustache. We knew it. Gruel Through a Tube Co. Have come up with a brand new vegan mustache made entirely of tofu that looks, feels, and even tastes like a mustache that vegans can apply. It won't collect, the opportunity for tiny little mustache hairs to inadvertently get into your mouth and be swallowed, thereby canceling your veganisms. It's Vegan Mustache. Come on and get one. I dare you. All right, that's the time we got for that nonsense. Absolutely pathetic. Horrific. God, I hate you. Please. I spit on your memory. All right, top 10 worst reasons you'll never get your Epstein files. You lousy so-and-so. Oops, sorry. Number 10, Russiagate. Somehow one of the Trump family lawyers, Robert Mueller, was put in charge of the investigation and just covered all the evidence up. These things happen. You can't be expected to vet everybody for major league associations with the accused. Who do you think we are? The goddamn government? But, that's true. I mean, Robert Mueller worked for WilmerHale, which was the law firm for Paul Manafort, Jared Kushner, and Ivanka Trump. And yet, somehow, Robert Mueller gets put in charge of investigating his own clients. So, that was all messed up. And he's just rubber stamping it, making sure that all the evidence is hidden instead of revealed. But that's, what we've come to expect from our government, because it's the only organization we allow to investigate major league crimes where the government is the most likely suspect and the most likely beneficiary of the crimes being committed. And yet nobody says anything about it over and over and over again. That's the point of why of today's list. You'll never get your freaking Epstein files. But let's, you might still be skeptical. And so let me continue on if you don't mind. Hello. I've got I'm the host here of the show. I'm sorry, but we're going to have to follow my lead on this one. I know you all want to, try to run things your way, but not on this show, baby. This time, I'm in the driver's seat. Ooh. Oh. Number 9, stolen Mar-a-Lago files. Trump appointed a judge refuses to allow the case to even be heard. Okay. He's got a whole bathroom full of classified government files, and the bathroom isn't even guarded. What's he doing with them? Why are they left just willy-nilly wherever any Mar-a-Lago schmuck can go, peruse them? And why those files? What was in them? Those are the people's files. He doesn't get to do that shiznaz on his own recognizance. Trump-a-roni. And yet, we've got him dead to rights. And then he's resisting of letting anybody, grab the files back vociferously. And so there's lots and 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 lots of pizza goes with lunch. Wait a second. Munch a bunch of pitos, fritos go with, that's what it says. Oh, I came in third. All right, so, but yeah, I mean, these are all flat out crimes, busted in the cold light of day. Mountains of evidence, including the files themselves, and yet nothing. Nothing. Because, again, I get to say that Yes, Mr. Bond, I suspect that your Epstein files will remain cloistered, and no one will suffer the consequences from them. Well, look, let me, this is, where this is going now. Where I'm going to take this thing, and it's going to be a real bummer for you at the end. So let me just give you just like a little bit of a ray of sunshine here that perhaps might be able to help you feel less frustrated over this one particular issue. 33 of the 50 states of the United States allow for childhood marriage. You could marry a 15-year-old in lots of different places. Some of them, you can marry a 12-year-old. Some of them, there's one, I think, maybe two, where there's no age restriction whatsoever. Kind of who you can marry. This is not an isolated problem in the United States. These robber barons and such that you think you've got them, caught with their hands in the cookie jar. If any of this stuff took place, like under, in California, you could just marry a 12-year-old and it's over. Doesn't that make you feel better? Well, every 9 minutes, a child is sexually abused in this country. It's not just the Epstein class on this one. Look, most of the other things that people bandy about and have suspected for a very long time that, our overlords are sociopaths and doing everything they can to destroy the human race in advance of our replacement by the AI cybernetic robots. Most of the time you're right on the money. But this one, while you are right, I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I'm saying that the rest of the country has sort of made a lot of this moot because the rest of the country is like totally down with figuring out a way around not being able to have sex with minors. Sorry, but it's true. Don't look at me like I'm some sort of wacko. I'm not the one who's out there with laws on the books where you could marry a 12-year-old. Or any Epstein. I've never had any experience with any Epstein people or been to Eyes Wide Shut style bacchanals or Bohemian Grove or any of that stuff. That's your leaders. You must bend a knee and pronounce fealty to your beloved leaders at all times, regardless of their transgressions. Number 8, Georgia vote tampering case. Here we go. Not going to get Epstein files. This is a perfect example. Here's another one where they had Trump dead to rights. Scads and scads of evidence of phone calls being made of trying to manipulate the outcome of a national presidential election by talking to high-powered elected officials in the state of Georgia on the phone and asking them to find some votes. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more. And, the way this case went was perfect. This case should have been adjudicated, finished up by 2023, and Trump should be under the, in the lower end sub-basement of, Leavenworth. A Leavenworth prison, which is where, by the way, for all you Passover fans, is where they invented matzah bread in the unleavenworth portion of the prison. Oh, that's bad. Badness. All right, so anyway, Georgia vote tampering case, lead prosecutor, Fannie Willis, a Democrat, decides to screw one of the underlings on her task force, which stops the investigation, which nobody ever bothered to pursue. It sounds to me like Fannie Willis wanted to wet her beak in a couple of different avenues. And I'm hearing, do I hear the silent intonations of the words golden parachute hidden in an offshore bank? You're not going to get any whispers for yourself. Those are only for the people who, dig the holes and bury the evidence for the ruling elite, and their snotty little toadies are running around making serious bank at our expense. Georgia vote tampering case was the best shot at ending, the Trump era. And maybe, I don't know, probably not, but maybe finding finally some politicians that would do right by the people. Wait, is there a phony laugh thing on my, what you call it? No, that's not it. No. Where's the laugh thing? Oh, here we go. Yeah, get it. Not going anywhere, Georgia vote tampering case. And now it's been completely dismissed. I think it was like last year, the beginning of 2026. I can't remember exactly when. But the whole case has been totally dismissed. So it's done. So Fani Willis dropping the ball, euphemistically, and canoodling with her underling wound up basically destroying the entire case forever. So good luck with that, America. And good luck with that, really, with all of the lefties, saying, blaming what we're experiencing now in the United States on MAGA. MAGA didn't do this. MAGA is just trying to not vote for Hillary Clinton. I mean, you can't blame anybody for not wanting to vote for her. She's the person, I mean, even if you don't, I'm not talking about Benghazi. I'm not talking about all that stupid server garbage. All that was smoke and mirrors. That's not what really concerns me. What concerns me about Hillary Clinton is the fact that during her formative years, she was a volunteer for Barry Goldwater. The worst of the conservative Republicans from the 60s. And then, she's bears sole responsibility for us not being able to have health care. Single payer option healthcare, because she was the one they put in charge of it in 1993 when everybody wanted it, when they were down for giving it a try, and the Democrats had both sides of Congress and stuff. All she had to do was say Medicare for all, and we would have had a national healthcare option for the last 40 years. Instead, she comes up with a phone. Look this up. She comes out with a phone book sized plan that nobody even read and never came up for a vote. And she had no experience in healthcare, no experience in red tape, no experience in Washington. 1993, people were already starting to get this vibe off of her that she was kind of like something was off. But my antipathy for Hillary Clinton has nothing to do with any of the jacked up bull dink that the right wing media forced down our throats. All that stuff is totally fake. The pizzeria with the child trafficking pizzeria. No, you know what? I prefer to have my pizza Hawaiian style. You can keep your little side kitties to the side. No, thank you. But it's that, and the fact that they sent a candidate to the first presidential debate who fell asleep twice on national TV for a presidential debate and didn't tell anybody about how much his mental well-being had dilapidated. But we shouldn't have even had to of worried about that. It was obvious and when they started to have these rubber stamp primaries, people should have reacted against it. They should have been up in arms. Seriously, the same level of protests that we saw for the destruction of the people of Gaza should have been going on for the destruction of the people of the United States, and in another election that was stolen out from under us by these sellout Democrats at the top of the food chain and the DNC and all that stuff. Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Hillary Clinton and Kamala. How does the most unpopular candidate from the primaries of 2020 wind up being an automatic default candidate for presidency 4 years later? It's not because she became more popular as a vice president. She didn't. No. How come the vice president choice wasn't somebody who was competent, capable, and popular with people? We got that whole thing needs to be analyzed of what really happened here. What are these people doing? And then, you have some, eye in the sky who's deciding what the nature of protests against this should be, and they call it No Kings, and the No Kings really is, just more closely resembling what the Democrats did in 2024 than what the Republicans did. Right? I mean, they're picking candidates without us being involved. That's not democracy. That's monarchy/fascism. And it doesn't, what needed to happen? In 1968, when LBJ backstabbed all of the Democrats, which it was not, it was at best a selfish decision. At worst, LBJ was in on it for the JFK assassination and got out of the way so Richard Nixon could come swinging in 1968, basically unopposed, and gobble up that presidential seat that he was so wet at the tip about. And to prove that, Johnson didn't resign his candidacy until March of 1968. March! And Nixon had been campaigning. Nixon, who was washed out, who lost the California governorship, and said, "You'll never hear from Nixon again." And then here he was, like a few years later, campaigning for 2 years for president, and the Democratic Party can't even get their candidate together because LBJ quit in March of 1968. Give me a break. And this was the beginning where we see the actual conversion of the Democratic Party to just being a Republican in sheep's clothing party. And doing nothing for the working class, certainly, but even worse, co-opting their needs and making the Democratic Party look like a bunch of impotent jerk-offs, and unable to get anything done that represents their own constituency, and just letting the Republicans run roughshod. Carter never does any investigation into Watergate. Clinton never does any investigation into Iran-Contra. Barack Obama never does any investigation into the Iraq War, a war that was obviously built off of a series of massive lies that gave us 1 million sacrificed innocent Iraqi civilians and Abu Ghraib and other stuff. Right? Oh, did I step all over? I just stepped all over. I just did my whole list. Oopsies. All right, number 7. God damn it. Stupid freaking top 10 worst stuff. I hate it so much. I hate the top 10 worst stuff list. It is the worst. At least it's appropriately titled. Number 7, New York tampering case. He's convicted on 34 counts, but where's the punishment? It really isn't that. The things that they caught him on weren't really that, hardcore in terms of what the penalty was. So there was no real punishment, and they was able to waive all that stuff and waste all of our time by prosecuting that first when they needed to just get into Georgia, get that done, and send him to Leavenworth. Why on this day do we eat while lying down? Anyway, so yeah, I mean, what's your freaking, what are the point I'm trying to make? The point is that you're not going to get any actual justice in the world. The rich people are going to get away with it. They can just do whatever they want, and us poor people just sit around going like, I wonder why they always get away with everything they want to get away with, and just sit around and just go, wow, that's so fantastic. Why don't I binge watch another 5 hours of The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt? God damn it. Number 6. JFK assassination, 60-something years later, whatever the hell it is, still no real justice due to ongoing cover-ups based off of the Warren Commission findings. I mean, how many times do we have to go through the litany of evidential items that all completely obliterate the single gunman theory? Not even just like the obvious when you're watching the Zapruder film when he's obviously not getting shot from behind him, and Jackie, tries to climb out of the limo back towards the single shooter. She's like thinking Jackie Kennedy was like, she was a together broad. I mean, she knew what the deal was and stuff like that. She would have been able to think on her feet and think, well, the shots are coming from behind me. I probably shouldn't crawl in the direction of the shooter. No, she would have ducked down. There's a lot of blood and viscera in the back seat there, I'm sure. But still, she would have had the presence of mind to duck down. She had the president's presence of mind to get away somehow, to do something. So you know that she was actively still, firing on her synapses while the multiple gunmen were firing at her husband. And then you get the changing of the route that the president's cavalcade of stars was going to take, and they took that extra turn that they're not allowed to be able to take with too much of an angle. The car would slow down too much, and they're going down, with just a few people throughout Dealey Plaza, which is a feeder ramp to an expressway, and they slow the car down, and then the shots start firing, and they slow the car to a crawl until his head blows up, and then they speed off. They should have been at Dealey Plaza. They should have been hitting the road, man. They should have been at, as soon as they completed that turn, they should have been doing about 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. And then you've got, a wide array of, the assassination of Oswald, the alleged assassination of Oswald, where all of a sudden he's wearing this big, thick black sweater he'd been wearing a white T-shirt and a members only jacket for the entire time that he'd been seen or photographed while in the Texas jail. And all of a sudden he's got a big, thick sweater, black sweater, which disguises any blood that would have been showing up from a belly wound from a .32. There's not a single drop of blood anywhere near there. The basement, if you look at it, looks like a movie set. It's been swept so clean you can eat Marilyn Monroe's vajayjay off of the floor. And then they got all the cops, or there's a row of cops blocking the wall. They're like, if you look at it, there's like 10 cops blocking the wall behind where they're pulling him out, and not a single person in front of him. And then it goes on and on and on. And the stuff is like, you read this stuff and you look at the videos and you think like, Jesus freaking Christ, this thing is a slam dunk. How can anybody possibly believe the liturgy, the Warren Commission liturgy on this goddamn thing? It's so obviously a cover-up. But then the granddaddy of them all is the makeup of the Warren Commission itself. Earl Warren was best friends with Nixon, who ultimately was the main beneficiary of the assassination of the Kennedy brothers. And then you have Gerald Ford, who gave Nixon the full and unconditional pardon later on. Then you got Allen Dulles, who had just been fired by Kennedy, and he was the head of the CIA and probably one of the most evil people in the history of planet Earth. And I could go on, because each and every one of them are either Dixiecrats who hated the Northern liberals or Republicans. And it was a 4-3, I think, maybe even 5-2 margin favoring the GOP. And this is LBJ who's naming the Warren Commission. Why is he naming people who would hate Kennedy to be the head of the commission that's designed to find out what's really going on here? And the murder of Dorothy Kilgallen, who is like the most popular gossip columnist, nationally syndicated gossip columnist, and appeared on television, and I think it's What's My Line, and every week, and super popular, and the weirdest chin in the history of chins, and she's like completely virulently against the single shooter theory, and she goes and does her own investigation herself. And she had done other powerful journalism stories before. In fact, if any of you remember the movie The Fugitive, or the TV show, for any of you old fogies out there, Dorothy Kilgallen worked intimately on that case, and was the one that got the real life Richard Kimball freed, and by having helped him figure out who the one-armed man was, and all that stuff is real. And Dorothy Kilgallen was the person who was able to uncover all of it through her efforts. And so she's, not just a plain old, run-of-the-mill gossip columnist who's looking to destroy lefties like Llewellyn Parsons and all that stuff, destroying the lives of unfairly accused people who wound up being found innocent, whose lives and careers were destroyed subsequent to Llewellyn Parsons' relentless hit jobs, and what's his name in William Randolph Hearst's newspaper chain, like Fatty Arbuckle and Charlie Chaplin. I mean, they had big, huge court cases that were used to destroy their careers, even though they were innocent in both cases. And whatever happened to Orson Welles and all that kind of stuff, it's like these guys were definitely on the make to destroy lefties and purge them from society or downright kill them. And then you've got, it just goes on and on and on. And Dorothy Kilgallen shows up one time right before she's about to make her findings public after investigation. She worked very closely with what's his name, the gunman Oswald Eddie, Fast Eddie Verdoliak, the guy, Jack Ruby. She was the only person that Jack Ruby would talk to. So she had intimate conversations with Jack Ruby that nobody else had. And then she turns up dead under mysterious conditions, like they all were, unnatural deaths at a rate. It was 70 material witnesses within a mere matter of a couple of years or so that turned up dead from unnatural causes, which was an investigation by one of the British newspapers. I think it was The Lancet, where they crunched the numbers on this, and they found that it was, of all those people with that type of relationship to the murder of JFK, dying within the amount of time that they died was a 1 in a million trillion ratio. I mean, so inconceivably. And one guy, 1964, I think it was, dies from a karate chop. Who the hell dies in 1964 from a karate chop? It's just so much nuttiness. And yet, we still don't know. We still don't have the information from the Department of Justice or from the FBI, CIA, COINTELPRO, any of those sadistic, bloodthirsty maniacs. Right? So you're saying, I'm gonna get Epstein's file. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about any of those other things. So number 5, the Iran-Contra affair. Highest ranked witnesses either died suddenly, like William Casey, and who's that other guy? William Casey's celebrity lookalike. No. But there was another guy who died in the course of all that stuff. But no, more importantly, the big time presidential pardons that Bush Sr. Was Reagan. Reagan didn't die, but he got such an enormous case, supposedly, of Alzheimer's that he couldn't testify. But also, a lot of the big wigs that were involved with this plan on a very high level were all given presidential pardons so they wouldn't have to testify. I'm thinking Cap the Knife, Caspar Weinberger, over the Department of Defense, and Admiral Poindexter actually got freed on a technicality, so he didn't have to testify against Bush Sr. and Reagan. And one other guy, I can't remember off the top of my head, 3 major guys who got off the hook at the very, very last minute, which Special Prosecutor Walsh referred to as the greatest act of treason he's ever witnessed in the history of the country. We're not going to, this giant cover-up has been going on since the beginning of Shiznaz. And the more you rely on having some Epstein files come to light as being the panacea be-all, end-all of getting away from all these sadistic maniacs and their relentless manipulation of our lives, is pie in the sky pipe dreaming. Watergate, of course, the granddaddy of them all, right? Watergate, the main criminal conspirator, was pardoned before they could be convicted, Nixon. So we couldn't find the extent of the criminal behavior, and it's never been established or punished. And Carter, just like all the other Democrats, walked away. It's like, oh, no, and let's just get on with all these, because I got to do all these other things. I only have 4 years to be able to destroy the name of the Democrats so that the Republicans, after betraying the country with the greatest scandal of all time, could come into full power, not only full power of what they had before Watergate, but even more power, so that they could manipulate and destroy the country forever and turn it into a crypto-fascist state that would never be able to. The new 1,000-year Reich, it's right here. The Third Reich is here in the United States right now. Right now! Number 3. The Iraq War lies. Numerous lies were told by a variety of people, including the president and the highest levels of government, with those 16 words or whatever they are from the State of the Union address from, I guess it was 2002, 3. And then you have 2 U.S. senators die in similar mysterious assassinations by mysterious plane wreck to give, and those 2 seats were both went over to the Republican side of the aisle right in time to vote. To have the Senate vote for affirmation to go to war in Iraq. Gee, wow, what a coinkydink. And these were great, the last of the real Democrats, as far as I know, Mel Carnahan and Paul Wellstone. Look up those guys. Read a little bit about what they were all about and then compare them to the modern day Democrats. And you'll see what I'm talking about the Democrats being fifth column operatives. Right? Who are just working for the ruling elite and just saying a bunch of things that make you happy while doing a bunch of things that make you very sad. Then they get they go to the war with Colin Powell going to the UN General Assembly with a bottle of anthrax and a PowerPoint presentation showing the rolling chemical laboratories that look like Winnebagos that didn't exist, and the aluminum tubes they were going to use for missiles that never were built and didn't exist either. And everybody gets off scot-free because, again, Barack Obama gets into office and should have been number one job to get to the bottom of who authorized Abu Ghraib and put them in Leavenworth, and then was it Colin Powell acting autonomously, telling all those lies to the UN General Assembly to get them to buy into the, green lighting the Iraq War for the Americans? If so, then he needs to go. And then, all the neocons who did this, Paul Wolfowitz and Condoleezza Rice and all these goddamn pathetic, sadistic sociopaths, they needed to go. They didn't have a Bush Jr. romping around with a bunch of other Democratic presidents like he's like a nice guy. And they're like, all the Democrats today are like, oh, isn't it so wonderful from when we had a time when we could have a civilized Republican as an opponent. Somebody who was not perfect, of course, but was as darn near close to perfect as any Republican possibly be. 1 million innocent Iraqi civilians are dead because of him. Dead! How would you like it if the tables were turned and everybody, all the Democrats and supposedly the opposition party in this one-party state were celebrating him like he's some cute little well-meaning, but misguided dummy. Not a dummy. Bloodthirsty murderer. Or being used by the bloodthirsty murderers as a patsy or, sort of the face of the murderous regime. So nobody would think any worse. Here's a guy who almost got choked to death by a pretzel. You proud of that? President Pretzel Choker. Number 2, Abu Ghraib, already kind of referred to, a torture camp set up in the war zone where prisoners are subjected to sadistic and inhumane treatment, but no one is investigated or brought to justice for it. I mean, I think maybe Rummy, they might have kicked Rummy to the curb as a scapegoat for the damn thing, but certainly nobody did any time for it. They might have just fired him. People should have done some serious time. These are major league war crimes. These are torture. Black site prisons came out during the same time. What's up with that? Where's the torture for the American officials that authorized those? That's all on us. They operate, even though they won't let us participate in our own government in any way, shape, or form, they operate in our name. And you just, and Barack Obama's just sort of like walking around having a beer summits and cash for clunkers. That's what I'm saying. I mean, he seems like a nice guy and everything like that, right? Yeah, but that's why they gave him the job. Because that's what they wanted. They wanted some guy who seemed like a nice job and let all the neocons off the hook. Epstein Files. Up my ass. But you're more likely to see and enjoy a reveal of my ginormous, pathetic, pimple-addled ass than you are to see any United States people, other than maybe, I don't know, Hillary or something like that, throwing any kind of shade because of their involvement with Epstein. Number 1 of the top 10 worst reasons you'll never get to see the Epstein Files. All these crimes were perpetrated by right-wingers, but the minute a Democrat gets elected president, they sweep it all under the rug. Yeah, they do. Big wheels keep on turning. I got extra credit here. The battleship Maine, an old U.S. warship, blows up either by accident or self-inflicted wound and blamed on the Spanish as a fake excuse to initiate the Spanish-American War, where 400,000 Filipinos died. Hello? Anybody there? No. Don't need to answer. I already know the answer. Gulf of Tonkin never happened. That was the impetus for us to go to war in Vietnam, a war that we had no right to fight, and was probably just carried out as a means of being able to purge a bunch of intelligent lefties from where they could be making a lot of trouble domestically, and maybe figure out what the real deal was, and maybe paradigm shifting something or another in our society. So you had to get rid of them. And the 9/11 Commission, I mean, that's just a joke. I mean, the first person they tried to get named for the head of the 9/11 Commission was Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger, who most countries throughout the world view as a war criminal for, the overthrow of Allende back in the 70s under the Nixon regime, and all the evil and murders that were done as coordinated allegedly by Henry Kissinger. And that's the guy they want to put in front of the... is the head of the 9/11 Commission? Give me a break ski, please ski. All right, that's all the time we got for it. Well, what an incredible time I've had here. I trust that you have had the same, and will return again to check out more and more and more on a relentless basis. Almost like, giving up your job would be cool, and just watching Top 10 Worst Of Lists 24/8. So next time we've got... top 10 worst places to demonstrate how to feed foie gras ducks to nursery school kids. So turn the tables. We're going to feed the foie gras ducks to nursery school kids. Foie gras style. Or no, we're going to just talk about it. I can actually do it. Top 10 worst... that one didn't work. Let's try another one. All right, hang on. Top 10 worst places to listen to 50 Shades of Grey on books on tape. Still not great. Top 10 worst Dealey Plaza angles to take a pot shot at Kennedy's forehead. Well, it fits in with the theme of today's episode a little bit better. There you go. We'll have to leave on that. Well, it's been a pleasure. I really am astounded by your commitment. It almost makes my pending commitment, seem worth it. Anyway, thanks for everything. Oh, we've got a new charity that we're trying to raise some money